8,000 young people aged 15 to 24 die in alcohol-related accidents in the United States each year. I'm Bruce Weitz, honorary chairman of the National PTA's Drug and Alcohol Abuse Prevention Project, asking parents to learn the facts and talk to your children about the dangers of alcohol and other drugs. Remember, prevention begins at home. For more information, contact the National PTA, 700 North Rush Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60611.
Tommy's first car puts him in the fast lane to a dead end. Watch Leadfoot, 5:30 p.m. Saturday on Channel 5.
Good morning. This is Tom Gregory with late news headlines, sports, and the weather from the Channel 5 newsroom. The international headlines. Iraqi state radio reports an Iraqi airstrike on what it calls the capital of aggression, Tehran. It's the 15th attack reported by Iraq against the Iranian capital in 24 days. Iran radio says a solitary Iraqi plane staged the raid early today, killing one person, but it says the raid followed an overnight Iraqi missile attack on another city, killing 13. The anti-government rebels in El Salvador may have been dealt a heavy blow. The army says it's either killed or seriously wounded one of the top rebel field commanders. A rebel spokesman says it's not true, just an attempt at psychological warfare. An American yachtsman freed by Vietnam after 8.5 months says the communist country tried to get him to spy for them. Vietnamese authorities seized Bill Mather's schooner off the southern Vietnamese coast last July, though Mather says he wasn't inside territorial waters. And he says they subjected him to long, grueling interrogations and a solitary confinement he suggests was uncivilized. But Mather says he doesn't know if his captors were local officials or represented the central government in Hanoi. A South Korean newspaper editorial is expressing worry that the U.S.-Japan trade tensions could affect South Korea. The independent Korea Times today says proposed American retaliatory steps against Japanese trade barriers could be extended to South Korea. The paper says Washington has already been pressuring South Korea to further open its market to American products and services. After a round of hush-hush talks with U.S. leaders in Washington, a Japanese trade emissary is on his way home. The representative will be reporting to his government about rising tensions in Congress over the imbalance of trade between Japan and the United States. These top national stories. A tornado in Tennessee struck pipes carrying radioactive materials at a company in Knoxville yesterday, but an official says the pipes didn't leak, and police say another twister destroyed a car dealership near Albertville, Alabama. Tornadoes and thunderstorms struck from Illinois to the deep south yesterday, killing 4 people, leaving behind flattened buildings and causing electrical outages. A storm system has brought much-needed rain to the southeast, where firefighters in 8 states have been battling brush and forest fires for the past several days. The fires have destroyed nearly 70,000 acres of land and injured at least 23 people. With no new farm legislation this year, the federal government would continue programs providing tough government regulation and relatively high price supports. Agriculture Secretary John Block says that would be the ultimate cop-out. Block says a budget compromise reached by the administration and Republican senators offers some leeway for passing a new farm bill. The compromise proposes lower cuts than the administration's original budget. Farmers this year have signed up to take 34 million acres of cropland out of production in exchange for government price support and payment benefits. That's a 28% increase over last year, but far below 1983, when farmers took more than 70 million acres from production, a record. An all-white federal jury in Atlanta has awarded more than $200,000 in damages to historian Dennis Walters. Walters, who is white, had accused Atlanta's black city leaders of discrimination because they refused to hire him as director of a Civil War museum. President Reagan says adding 2% a year to Social Security benefits is not a reduction, as some of his critics charge. But it is less than it would be, and opponents say the latest budget offer is bad news for those who depend on the program. They say Mr. Reagan's going back on a promise not to cut benefits. The president's idea to slow the increase in Social Security benefits is drawing angry comments from many older Americans. Florida Democratic Congressman Claude Pepper says Mr. Reagan has broken his word that he wouldn't cut benefits, and Pepper says he'll fight any reductions. William Schrader is about to make history again. In a few hours, he'll be moved from Humana Hospital in Louisville, Kentucky, to a nearby apartment. The change of address will make him the first artificial heart implant patient ever to leave hospital care. Meantime, doctors are having fellow mechanical heart patient Murray Hayden spend more time off a respirator. He's recovering from some lung trouble. Investigators in the Chicago area are still trying to track down the cause of salmonella bacteria in a dairy that left nearly 1,600 people sick in 5 states. Officials say they expect the number of cases to level off since only one batch of milk was found to have bacteria, and most of it has been pulled off the shelves. On the local scene, whether or not Yonkers Raceway settles its week-long strike with on-track betting clerks, officials there say it's possible the track may close down permanently. Without tax relief, our future is definitely in doubt. Not this week or next, but sometime, said Robert Galterio, the Raceway general manager. The track lost $3 million last year and is crippled by taxation, he said. Management was due to resume bargaining today with negotiators for 270 parimutuel clerks, members of Local 32E of the Service Employees International Union, who are seeking wage parity with the clerks at Roosevelt Raceway on Long Island. The walkout forced management to shut the gates to spectators Monday night in the hope the track could survive on revenues from off-track betting and closed-circuit television. While the ASPCA threatens court action, Ringling Brothers and Barnum & Bailey Circus is sticking to its story. The living unicorns are real unicorns, circus officials insist, not surgically produced freaks. The battle over the one-horned animals was joined Friday as the circus responded to charges from the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals that the unicorns are nothing more than goats with grafted-on horns. The living unicorn arrived at the circus exactly as it is seen today, said Circus Vice President Alan J. Bloom. The only difference in it now is that its horn has grown several inches since it joined the circus. But John Kohlberg, president of the ASPCA, said the 4 animals he was allowed to inspect Thursday were definitely goats, and unless circus officials answer his charges, he will take them to court. Though the operation is not necessarily life-threatening, Kohlberg called the publicity stunt cruel and severely unethical, and called on the public to boycott the greatest show on earth. Now checking sports. On the ice in the NHL, Los Angeles topped Vancouver 4-3, and in the only other game, Edmonton and Calgary skated to a 5-5 overtime tie. In NBA action, the Celtics overtook Washington 115-104. The Cavs just barely got by the Pistons 119-118. The 76ers over the Bulls 116-113. The LA Clippers outlasted Dallas 126-122 in overtime. Denver dumped San Antonio 118-109. The LA Lakers 132, Kansas City 125, and the Trail Blazers breezed by the Supersonics 145-120. A look at the weather. Current temperature reading at 62 degrees, humidity 84%, barometer at 29.59 inches, and it's falling. Variably cloudy, says the weatherman, breezy and mild early this morning, chance of a passing shower, temperatures holding steady. Later today, chance of a shower, gusty winds, the high 70 to 75. Tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and cooler with lows around 40. Partly sunny, breezy, and cooler Easter Sunday with highs in the mid-50s. Repeating the current temperature reading, 62 degrees. And there you have the late news headlines, sports, and weather from the Channel 5 newsroom. Good morning, Tom Gregory reporting.
When the world should all be sleeping and the melody comes creeping, it's no cabaret at the Milkman's Matinee.
Ah, my dear, the night is young and the music out of this world. This is Marty Wilson inviting you to tune in to America's original all-night music show, the Milkman's Matinee, only on
The King's Thief stars Edmund Purdom, David Niven, and Ann Blythe. Great adventure from MGM.
There was a man born of Jewish parents in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in another obscure village. He worked in a carpenter shop until he was 30, and then for 3 years was an itinerant preacher. book. He never held office. He never owned a home. He never had a family. He never went to college. He never put his foot inside a big city. He never traveled 200 miles from the place where he was born. He never did one of the things that usually accompany greatness. While still a young man, the tide of popular opinion turned against him. His friends ran away. He was turned over to his enemies. He went through the mockery of a trial. His executioners gambled for the only piece of property he had, his coat. When he was dead, he was taken down and laid in a borrowed grave through the pity of a friend. 19 wide centuries have come and gone, and today he is the centerpiece of much of the human race. All the armies that have ever marched, all the navies that ever were built, all the parliaments that ever sat, all the kings that ever reigned put together have not affected the life of man upon the earth as powerfully as has that one solitary life.
This is television station WNEW-TV, Channel 5, New York, owned and operated by Metro Media Incorporated, with transmitter atop the World Trade Center and executive offices and studios located at 205 East 67th Street in New York City. WNEW-TV operates on an assigned frequency of 76 to 82 megahertz as authorized by the Federal Communications Commission. Some programs and portions of programs presented by this station have been recorded. WNEW-TV's entire broadcast schedule is a copyrighted original compilation work. No recording, retransmission, or other use may be made of WNEW-TV's programming without the express prior written consent of Metro Media Incorporated. Good night.